Okay. So thoughts behind organization of key contents for students. I think I have to emphasize for students. It's like, knowledge of system science and cybernetics are kind of like treasures buried in a mountain cave. And we are just some miners going there doing the digging, and we find out something, and some find more, some find less. And so we are so excited to present what we have. But from another perspective, if you're concerned about this, youngsters, school kids, K-12 kids, college students, and how are you going to guide them to come here and also process this same treasure is what I concerned more than the content itself. So I'm just going to talk about the organization ideas. First is, I have to move this away. First is the beloved Hans von Forst model that draw a distinction. So I tend to work on the general, the distinctions on different cognitive horsepower or cognitive resolution. So one frame of that thing is we do it one level after another. So from a chaos, from a nothing, we recognize the one object. I call it a first level cognition. It is an emergence of aha. It is also Wiener's earlier paper about how our neural system are formed, something called a concept. So formatting of a concept, and you made a distinction between yes and no, between there is something or there is not something, and so that's what I call the very, very primitive first level cognition. And you go up one level, you start developing the concept of two. So from 1 to 2, C.S. Peirce call it one firstness and the secondness, but simply, I think this second level cognition is the emergence of the opposite qualities that we start to acknowledge. So it's a distinction you made between yin and yang, between black and white, between day and night, that sort of thinking. Now, we have to acknowledge there's many, many people on this planet are still working at this level. Now, from 2 to 3, I call third level cognition, is the awareness that a real coin actually has 3 services, not just 2. So if your coin needs to be a real coin, if you look at it carefully and you see the side as the third surface. So here we have 3-dimensional thinking. And if we include the time here, the thinking framework becomes 4-dimension. But still from 3 to M means many. So from 3 to many, I call 4th level cognition. That is the emergence of categories, or the first scale of measurement, namely the nominal scale. And we have also next level from many to number, to concept of any number. There we have ordinal, interval, and ratio measurements going on at this level. So scientists working here, mathematicians working here, but not a layperson, or maybe accountants are working here too. And the next level is from N number to infinity. And here, what I call sixth level cognition is a territory of a calculus. You start pay attention to differentials and integrals, and you start using epsilon delta language, and you perceive the limit and the continuity very precisely with the help of course, the early pioneers of mathematicians. Now, the seventh level cognition, maybe the highest. Okay, I'm all just guessing here, so you don't worry if something's wrong here. The seventh level cognition might be the tensor tools used by Einstein and a very small number of scientists and engineers. So I'm still trying to learn that. I'm not there yet, but all of the above is about the distinctions, observed distinction of observed elements. So when we add a second dimension here of distinctions beyond the elements, what are they? Relations. So from here, I think systems thinking started, because we started paying attention of relations among the elements. I had another piece discussing about a taxonomy of system thinking, because we have so many of them and we really need to arrange them nicely for the students, right? But what does this page say? My point is, there is one fact, maybe inconvenient. That is the portion of people able to use, not just heard of, higher level cognition frames are unfortunately very small. So that was something I want to highlight. So for us, I think the intellectual labor or minors, we have actually 3 dimensions to work on. The first one is everybody is so familiar with, is to dig out the treasure of knowledge, is to find out facts, measures, natural laws, causality chains, circular causalities, and complex network of causalities, self-organization. I like auto-organization, by the way, dynamics, and even the grand scenario of evolution, etc. So this is all to trying to dig out the treasure of knowledge from the mountain of phenomena resulted from cognitive efforts. These efforts can be by individual, can be by group like us, or can by a large scientific community. But that's just one dimension. And that's a lot of people writing books here, but there is a second dimension that I would like to point out. That is to present or to represent or to interpret and to explain the findings from the first dimension to the people outside of our scientific community, using jargon-free common language. That's a big challenge. John Waldonick is here. I think he's writing, John's writing a book, system book for children. And Larry was not here today. Larry was writing a book, cybernetic book for layperson. That's all work on this dimension. I think this dimension, second dimension, is very, very important, needs our attention. And the third dimension, of course, is something you're familiar. To convert the first one with the supporting force from the second one into tools, instruments, engineering projects, equipments, buildings, and constructions, anything hands-on achieved. That is the territory of engineers. So from here, this is what actually works. Accumulated in our civilization after all the previous, the first 2 dimensions effort. So that's the idea of a 3 dimension. Now, my joking question is, how far is the distance from us, the ideas and the thoughts and the brilliant insights we have been talking about, to Washington, D.C., I mean, Capitol, the Congress, the White House, and and whoever running our society there. The intellectual distance I perceive is very far, and we really need to build bridges there. And this IQ graph is simply a reminder that we had only 0.1% of people of this planet are doing science or call themselves scientists. So that's my concept of a bear curve 2.0 idea. We only have 7.6 million scientists here in 7 billion Earthlings. Now, how do we benefit the rest of 999% of people? It's our challenge. And if we have gained, I mean, every one of us, if you have gained 999 people outside your field to understand your stuff, I mean, your book, then you have done your share. I think so. This is kind of putting a little bit of burden of responsibility to us. So it is important that we know, we pay attention that we have 77.6 million scientists here, and we have this much people in the middle. And the good ideas here needs really to be horizontally moved, transferred towards this direction. So that is something I think we need to pay attention to. So my next to last slide is the need of reinterpret. This one, I think some of you may be aware, this is Gordon Parks' original drawing about a conversation. I mean, about how do we understand each other. And here is another even more complex drawing. And here is a famous Stanford beer model. And this chart is somebody put on social media yesterday, talking about this Dominion voting system and its connections with all kinds of bad guys. So my point is, this kind of representation of our knowledge is kind of very difficult to get understood by others who are not familiar with our jargon. So I raise a question to myself and to all of you. What are the major drivers for people to learn? I mean, to make effort to lift cognitive weight. The first one, very early in our memory, is the authority request. Now, our parents ask us to learn, school teachers and job boss, should be teacher here. And this is what I call passive learning. Now, when we become adults, we need to make a living. We face with the problem solving. So problem solving needs forced us to learn. We need to gain comfort. We need to build up our well-being. We need to do self-development. And here is the dynamic is interactive. Now, the more interesting one here is that we all, as human beings, have curiosity for knowledge. We know cats also have. So we're curious about whys and the hows. So this is what I call an active or detective kind of approach. Of course, we also have special interests, like somebody have a sense of mission, forced themselves to learn. So maybe there are something more. So it's an open question here for everybody to think. But the point, coming back to that table of content of why things are arranged that way, is that I choose this line, choose to tap into students' curiosity. So you have to start from their drive to learn something that will make their cognitive system work harder. Therefore, the table of content I arranged back in, I think it's 1993, and for that manuscript, it's never get published, by the way. I wrote that, I tell you why. So at the beginning, we have to have some axioms. So for the learner, you have to believe this is something like a holisticity, isomorphy, conditionality, disturbance. This sort of concept you have to, it's your prerequisite. And once you acknowledge those, then the key I use to arrange those content 5 puzzles. The misery of life, what is life? And then we learn what is life. Life's homeostasis, life is self-organization, life is mysterious. But we find something called the feedback control mechanism there. So, but for a thermostat, for your air conditioning, you set the goal, but who set the goal for the life itself? And so one mystery puzzle after another, and our perception of reality and our being, our existence. So I put it in 5 puzzles. And then from 5 puzzles leads to 5 key concepts answering these puzzles: homeostasis, feedback, self-organization or auto-organization, eigenstate, and stability. And then leading to some important principles that our student needs to know, not we treasure diggers, but the student, what are the most important things that we need to present to young kids? So circularity, a law of requisite variety, eigenmechanism, blah, blah, blah. So that is, this page is my last page, is the concise structure of that table of content. And you can see, you can find the answer for why this not get published. Because on an end, I started discussing applications. And there are 3 groups of applications. The realist ones, I used the 3 samples. A soft system approach, I used the 3 samples. And the last one is constructivism approach. The very last one is called the technology of participation. So after finishing this manuscript, I started a business to try to experiment training on technology of participation. So that's why this stuff got shelved and dig out for you today. So
Remy,